9, 8.
You're watching the Experience Comic Culture and Sales. Streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
So I was just in a group chat. I told JD about this a second ago, but it's worth repeating because I was in a group chat and with the kind of creators I work with. And one of them asked if I'm going to be at the Baltimore Comic Con. Now, I didn't want to just say, no. I just like to cause chaos. I like to cause insanity. So I said, I'm not allowed in Baltimore anymore. Not since the incident at the Poe Museum. It wasn't my fault, but I'm not allowed to talk about it. And then I didn't post again. They spent the next 20 minutes trying to figure out what the hell I did. There were some interesting suggestions, too. Stay tuned for the Dan Wickline Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember when I used to say I'm your host and I'd give a completely weird name? Yeah, I think we'll just skip that, but that was always fun. Show's changed a lot over the years. I was talking with JD about I got some wild ass speculation for later in the show, and we don't have the wild ass speculation thing anymore. Which is a shame because that was really fun. All right. What we're going to do today is a little different in that we've got a couple things going on. We've got some news to cover. I have been decoding the Batman, trying to figure out who the next villain's going to be in the Batman sequel. Of course, that is with tonight, the debut. I've lost the ability to speak. With the debut of tonight's The Penguin. And because I did watch the first 2 episodes of Agatha All Along, and have some thoughts, I will share those at the end. So if you haven't seen it and want to bail, then that'll be at the end of the show. But I will take it personally as a personal offense if you leave. Just so you know. I mean, yeah. All right, so let's get into the news, shall we? Let's see, I put it here somewhere. Yeah. All right. So, and we were talking about the Penguin. Well, this is about the Penguin. We've already heard that Matt Reeves has slightly changed the Penguin's name in the Batman. And that's, I mean, it's kind of an iconic villain and all, but his name is Oswald Cobblepot. And they're dropping that. They're just letting him go by Oz Cobb instead of Oswald Cobblepot in an attempt to, well, They've had a couple different descriptions. One was to modernize the name, but the other one was how they wanted the Penguin to come up. Cobblepot is supposedly a rich name. It's one of the old family names in Gotham, and they would rather have him coming up with nothing. Now, that's not to say that later on he might not find out that he is a Cobblepot. Who knows? But for some reason, they've decided to drop the old pot and just go by Cobb. So they're going to call him Oz Cobb. I have seen him written as Oswald Cobb. But the interesting thing is, this is a recent description, or this is a recent development, because this guy here, his box says Oswald Cobblepot. The art book for the Batman, official art book, has him listed as Oswald Cobblepot. So this is something they must have done recently. Now, I don't remember them calling him anything but Oz in the movie, but I know there's one scene where they're talking about him and Batman's going to go over there. But Gordon says the name, and I thought he said Oswald Cobblepot. He runs the Iceberg Lounge. So I didn't get a chance to go back and check that, but yeah, it just seems like it's more of a recent thing. Now, what's funny is that we look at the Batman movie, and he did a great job. Matt Reeves did a great job on it, but he's not staying as true to canon as we might think he is, because Reeves says he didn't originally plan to put Colin Farrell in the big prosthetic suit. He was more concerned about the attitude of the character, and they weren't necessarily going to make him up like that. And that's not the first time it's happened. If you think about Robin Lord Taylor's portrayal of the Penguin in Gotham, he wasn't the short, heavy-set character. He looked kind of normal, but he had the walk and stuff like that. So, or the limp and stuff. So I could see them doing that. But what he said was that they were more focused, he and Colin Farrell, on the inspirations for the character. He said, we talked a lot about Fredo. We talked a lot about John Cazale in The Godfather, and the idea of maybe trying to give him a penguin nose or do something to kind of mess up Colin's face to get the sense of somebody who'd been overlooked, somebody who had this ambition inside of him, but who was mocked and who had been looked down upon. And he said, all of a sudden one day, prosthetic designer Mike Marino said, let me show you what I've been working on. And Mike is an incredible artist, and he did this sculpture. I tell you, the sculpture was exactly the way that Oz looks right now. It's incredible. And I was like, wait, what? We had never said, let's just take Collins and turn him into something we've never seen before. I said, this is Colin Farrell. I got to now tell the studio he's not going to look like Colin Farrell. Now, the look they gave him helped Farrell with the character. Farrell said, when I looked into the mirror for the first time and I saw Oz looking back, it was really powerful. It was strange. You ever see the video of cats looking at themselves in the mirror and seeing themselves for the first time? It was a bit like that. It's my first time doing something like this, being that submerged and beneath such brilliant design and sculpting as Mike Marino did. There's kind of an essence of possession. If you give yourself over to it, it tells you so much. You start to move different ways. You start to look a different way. You start to feel powerful. Your actual face isn't there, so you almost don't exist in any way. It wasn't like I lost who I was or anything, but there was a great permission to just throw paint at the wall with kind of voraciousness. I don't know if that's an actual word, a voraciousness that I hadn't had the opportunity to do before. Sometimes maybe you hold yourself back, but this time there was no holding back. It did so much of the work for me. Now, I'll admit, I'm not thrilled about the name change because it's just, I'm a traditionalist and all that, but everything else about the character has been absolutely stunning, and I can't wait to watch the show tonight. Oh, hey, Slipknot, good to see you. By the way, hello to Jay and to Triple B and to JD on the board. So, all right, let's move on to, they're really filling out the cast of this new Spider Noir series. They're adding Lucas Haas, Cameron Britton, Kerry Christopher, Mike Kostroff, Scott MacArthur, Joe Mazangill, Whitney Rice, and Amanda Scholl as recurring characters. Now, this, of course, is for the upcoming MGM Plus and Prime Video series based on Spider-Man Noir. Now, it's still being kept under wraps, like who's going to play what, but we do know that the series stars Nicolas Cage, along with Lamorne Morris, Brendan Gleeson, Abraham Papula, Lee Jun Lee, and Jack Houston. And it tells the story of an aging down on his luck private investigator, played by Cage, in 1930s New York, who's forced to grapple with his past life as the city's one and only superhero. Now, this is coming from Oren Uzel from The Lost City and 22 Jump Street, and Stephen Lightfoot from Marvel's The Punisher, and they're going to run as the executive producers and the showrunners of the show. Slipknot saw Deadpool and Wolverine. Very cool. I have not had a chance to yet. I'm hoping to soon. But yeah, I am really looking forward to that. I may even, since I haven't been able to get to the theater lately, when it goes on pay-per-view, I may just do that and not wait for Disney Plus. Slip says D&W is currently the 22nd highest grossing movie all time. Soon it'll be, I totally believe that. That is still just a freaking juggernaut. No pun intended. All right, slipping over to John Watts, the director of the Spider-Man films. His production company, Freshman Year, and producer Diane McGingle have been staked to a first look deal with Walt Disney Studios. Now, under the deal, Watts will direct feature-length projects for Disney's live action and 20th Century Studios with the option to produce. Watts has come from the low-budget, well-received Sundance indie film Cop Car to then move on to join Tom Holland and Zendaya in the third iteration of the Spider-Man franchise. Some $4 billion in gross later, spread over the three films, Watts stepped out and wrote, directed, and produced the movie Wolves, the George Clooney, Brad Pitt movie that's coming up on Apple Plus. Now, Watts has a strong relationship with Disney that goes beyond just the stuff he did with Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige, because he served as executive producer on the FX series The Old Man with Jeff Bridges, and he's also created as the executive producer of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. That's the limited series show that's going to kick off on Disney Plus on December 3rd. Hey, Ed, good to see you. Got out of meeting, huh? I hope it wasn't too bad a meeting. All right. West Wing fans, First Lady Jill Biden will host a reunion of the cast of the West Wing at the White House on Friday afternoon, tomorrow. This event will mark the 25th anniversary of the show. You want to feel old? I remember watching that first episode. Egad. Members of the cast, including Martin Sheen, Dule Hill, Janelle Maloney, Richard Schiff, and Allison Janney, appeared at the Emmys earlier this week. The White House said that the event will celebrate the role of storytelling and inspiring Americans to pursue a career in public service. The series debuted in September 22nd, 1999, and went on for 6 seasons. Martin Sheen, who played President Jared Bartlett in the series, met with President Joe Biden last month during a visit to Washington, D.C. I loved that show. That was just so much fun. And Aaron Sorkin's dialogue is just phenomenal. I mean, you go to any of his older shows, whether it's West Wing, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, Sports Night, which is phenomenal and was before West Wing, before people knew who he was. And he was just writing some amazing shows, episodes and stuff. If you haven't checked out Sports Night, I highly recommend that. Also, you go back to A Few Good Men, which he wrote the script for. So the guy is just a great writer. Also, I really liked Newsroom. So I hope he comes back to TV soon. Brian T. from Expatriates and Chicago Med has been chosen to lead the voice cast of the upcoming Adult Swim series Get Euro, a TV series based on the New York Times bestselling DC Vertigo graphic novel from writer Anthony Bourdain. You guys might know him as a chef, and Joel Rose, and it had artwork by Langdon Foss and Ali Garza. Now, the half-hour animated series is set in the not-too-distant future LA, where master chefs rule the town and people literally kill for seats at the best restaurants. A mysterious sushi master named Euro enters a bloody culinary war and begins to craft his recipes for revenge. The project received a series order back in June. If they're going to do this, though, they really should do it right and bring in guest voice actors who are actual chefs. Wouldn't it be cool to have Guy Fieri, Bobby Flay, Gordon Ramsay, their voices just pop up as characters. Aaron Sorkin did a masterclass where he broke the story of season 5 of West Wing since he left after 4, basically showing what he would have done. I not only did I know that, but I have watched that masterclass. It's the only reason I signed up for masterclass, and it's the one I have. I think I have one other one, but yeah, I have that masterclass, and yes, that was a very good storytelling exercise. We have the Batman Day coming up this weekend. And while last year we did a lot of fun stuff here on The Experience, we've got so much going on this year we don't have a chance to. But on September 26th, out here in Los Angeles, Batman is getting his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And from what I believe, he is the first ever character to get a star. Now, this just opens the frickin' doors to other characters. I mean, okay, if you're going to give Batman one, do you give Superman one? And then you can start looking down, what about Spider-Man? What about Wolverine? Oh, what about Mickey Mouse or Sherlock Holmes? So you really have to start, this is the floodgates. It might get to a point where everywhere you walk in Los Angeles, there's a frickin' star on the ground. Let's see. Slipknot says Martin Sheen also played a president in David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone. Really good movie. Yep. He also played the chief of staff to Michael Douglas's president in The American President, which is interesting because, he went from there to being the president, and very different characters, but both very well done. Yeah, Mickey Mouse can, star on the Walk of Fame. I could totally see. All right, guys, we're going to take our first break because that is the news that I've got so far. I will check the sites, see if anything else popped up. But when we come back, I'm going to start putting together the clues we've got so far for the upcoming Batman Part 2. So stick around. We'll be right back.
Did you know that Arthur, King of the Britons, in Monty Python and the Holy Grail was played by a famous Graham? Check out another famous Graham by following our Instagram.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming death by sleep.
So, the show is called The Geek Chat. And really, there's just a couple of geeks.
I'm Rich.
I'm Dez.
And we are your hosts for this weekly guide into comic bookery and all the geeky stuff that goes with it.
And that pretty much says it all. They talk about the latest movies and shows.
Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Overall, D+ movie.
So the end. Did you know who that is?
That's She-Ra, yeah.
Yes.
The new #1 comics of the week.
We rep Samuel Jackson and we rep Mace Windu.
I passed on this. I was like...
No regrets.
No regrets. I really wanted to like this book. I really did. Like, I really did.
And just chat with each other. And with you.
Oh, Daniel says, I dosed off with the first one. I have zero interest in the Joker Harley ship, not Harley herself. Enjoy, not for me. Yeah, this movie's gonna be rough for me to sit through, I'll be honest.
The Geek Chat, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just a couple of honest geeks.
Let's be honest. Come on.
And that is why people watch us, because we're honest.
Giving their honest opinions.
And the thing you always have to remember about the internet is everyone has an opinion, and they all suck.
Part of the experience.
everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember to stick around today. We got a lot of great stuff coming up. What's in the box, the Geek Chat, and, of course, SketchUp. So you want to stick around for that. Let's see. A star for Gollum would be funny. A star for Gollum would be awesome, especially if Andy Serkis could be like holding it going, my precious. A CG star for Gollum. Sorry, fingers cut. All right. Ed says, have you ever seen Cadence with Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen? Yes, I have. That's where Charlie Sheen gets the 2 8-balls on the back of his hands and gets put into prison with a bunch of African-American soldiers who were also, I don't know, military prison or whatever it is. Yeah, good movie. Also, Martin Sheen and Charlie Sheen have worked together multiple times. Besides Cadence and Hot Shots Part 2, they, of course, were in Wall Street together with Martin Sheen's American President co-star, Michael Douglas. By the way, Wall Street is such a kick-ass movie. I mean, it was just, it stood out so well. I mean, just above and beyond so many other movies of its time. Let's see. Yep, that's a great movie. All right, so did find one breaking news. Did you see the sequel? Was it any good? Sequel to Wall Street? Was that the Money Never Sleeps one, or I don't remember. So if I did see it, it wasn't that good. Okay, there was one bit of news that popped up, which I'm not sure how I feel about. Robert Rodriguez and his sister, writer-director Rebecca Rodriguez, are moving forward on a reinventing of Zorro at CBS or CBS Studios. Their idea is that it's a contemporary take with a young Latinx woman discovering that her long-deceased father was the legendary hero Zorro. She takes on his masked persona to defend the desperate citizens of her Austin, Texas community from wealthy forces seeking to exploit it. Now, this description it says contemporary, but it doesn't say modern. So is that what it is? Is it a modern day version of it? Is it, because I don't know, a modern day version could be interesting, but I don't know. I don't know why they want to gender swap so many things. You know, I mean, I get that from the era they're pulling from, there wasn't a lot of great representation, but this is a character who is a Latino or Latinx or whatever. I'm not sure. I know some people like Latinx, some people don't. So, but basically, it was a good representation of, you know, a hero from that era of a minority status. You know, I mean, I don't get it. I don't see the necessity for it, but because it makes some people angry, and angry makes for free viral marketing. Yeah, but in the end, nobody watches it. It's become a trend for some odd reason. First time I remember it happening was when they remade Battlestar Galactica. Yeah, Starbuck. Yep. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it because for me, you're adapting other people's work, and you should adapt it the way they wanted it done. So I don't know. I remember my first Hollywood experience. I had a book I had done with Ben Temple-Smith called Bloodstained Sword. It was about a Japanese American whose father was from Japan, worked for a major corporation, and was found dead with the report saying he had committed seppuku. This was a slightly futuristic world where samurai stuff was all outlawed, and I remember making this story, and Ben and I put it together, and it was a really fun story. It was over at IDW, which is in the news a lot right now, but they optioned it to a guy named Barry Levinson, not Levine, but Barry. There's two guys in Hollywood with those names or similar names, and the first thing he wanted to do was to make the main character Anglo. Wanted him to be white. And I'm like, well, why would his father have raised him? Why would he be white? That doesn't make any sense to the story. So, I don't know. All right, let's move on past from that. Let's get into the Batman 2. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the second part of the Batman. And there's been a bunch of different interviews that Matt Reeves has been doing lately. Part of it because of the Batman, part of it because of the Penguin coming out. And what he's saying now is that the script is in the final process and the film is still on track for an October 2nd, 2026 release, which is over 2 years from now. That's going to drive me crazy. And we know that Colin Farrell will return as the Penguin. And of course, Robert Pattinson will be back as Bruce Wayne the Batman. Andy Serkis will be back as Alfred. We don't know if we'll get Catwoman back. We're not sure who else is going to be in it. But what we have confirmed is Batman. Probably Jeffrey Wright as Gordon as well. But that's it. Penguin. Yeah, Penguin starts tonight, and I'm so looking forward to it. So, also we know the timeline that tonight's show is going to start 1 week after what happened with the Riddler and the flooding of Gotham, and that it's going to lead into the Batman 2. It's going to take place from after Election Day, which is when the other movie ended, going through in towards Christmas, but it's not going to actually get to Christmas. So this is supposed to be like a winter story. And of course, it's going to be kind of interesting being that it's going to be snow and stuff like that. And as soon as people say snow, they want, I want Mr. Freeze. And also with the recent Batman Cape Crusader animated series, people are talking about how, he used a gentleman ghost in there because Matt Reeves is an executive producer on the cartoon, along with J.J. Abrams and Bruce Timm. And he's like, well, let's use, people are saying maybe they'll use Gentleman Ghost. But Reeves has come out and said that while they might push the line on the fantastical, they won't go into full-on fantastical. So it's a pretty safe bet we're not going to get we're not getting the Gentleman Ghost. Mr. Freeze, I think, is right on that edge. And Reeves has said that he really likes the character of Mr. Freeze, but there's other quotes he said recently that makes me think that's not going to happen, at least not in number 2, unless it's like a cameo or something. Because, well, I'll get to those quotes. What am I missing here, guys? Hit enter too fast. For Face. Yep, Face was a great character from the A-Team. Same actor, Dirk Benedict. Just realized Gordon Gekko's surname is also the same as the Gekko brothers from Dusk Till Dawn. Yeah. A-Team was my jam. Yeah. I ain't getting on no plane. Foo. Come on, Zaz or Professor Pig. Now, see, I think those two are much more realistic villains for it. I went through and I pulled up a list of all the Batman villains, taking it that he won't go into the fantastical. And the characters that we know in the universe are Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Catwoman. Those 4 have appeared. The ones that are hinted at in the movies are Hush and Court of Owls. And I don't know if Court of Owls is even hinted at as much, but Hush, it's pretty blatant. If you've seen the movie, there is a reporter named Edward Elliot who is murdered by Falcone in sort of the name of Bruce Wayne, of Thomas Wayne, protecting Martha Wayne's secrets. So totally could see that setup. Other characters that would fit into the kind of realistic universe: Ra's al Ghul, Bane, Two-Face, Scarecrow, Black Mask, Calculator, Calendar Man, Catman. Don't know why they would do Catman. Deadshot, Firefly, Lady Shiva, League of the Assassins, the Mad Hatter, Mr. Zsasz, Professor Pig, Punchline, Hugo Strange, Lincoln March, again, if they're going to do Court of Owls, Deathstroke, Talia al Ghul, Ventriloquist, Bronze Tiger, maybe the Basil Karlo version of Clayface. I wouldn't go with the other ones. And Harley Quinn. Those are the ones I think fit into the grounded world. While Red Hood, I think, would fit, but you've got so much backstory you got to put in to explain who the hell the Red Hood is, and they're not set up for that. I don't think they could do Poison Ivy. And Mr. Freeze, like I said, we're just now getting the technology that they think a freeze gun could be made in the real world. So maybe Mr. Freeze, but yeah. Hey, I liked Bop, but not that Zaz. Is true, yes, Mark Strong is going to play Falcone in flashbacks in The Penguin. And the reason is because John Turturro had scheduling conflicts. They would have just brought him back, but they just recently announced it. And we've seen an image of Strong, and he looks very similar. They did a good job. So, yeah. How about the Ventriloquist? Ventriloquist was on my list. He is one that would fit. All right. So what are the other clues that we're getting? Now, Reeves has talked about continuing the story from the first films and digging much more into the corruption around the city. So that right there, Court of Owls, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a very in-depth Batman story, but it also focuses on a lot of the elite citizens of Gotham, and I don't know, there's just a lot to put in there. Now, the other thing that Reeves said, and I'll quote, he said, "I want the emotional part of the story to be Robert Pattinson's, to be Bruce and Batman's. I'm excited by the antagonist of the next movie, but I don't want Batman's arc to step back to allow space for another group of characters." So, Court of Owls, to me, not only do you need a group of characters, but you're more focused on the past. You're more focused on the families of the previous families of of Gotham, the Waynes, the Arkhams, stuff like that, the Cobblepots. So I don't know how much it would be focused on Bruce rather than the family and the corruption of Gotham. And again, he talks about the corruption of Gotham, and I could see them leading into Court of Owls as the third part. And he has confirmed, Matt Reeves has said that he is doing a trilogy here, that there's going to be another one. But if we're focused on Bruce's story, I think Court of Owls is too big for it, at least so far. So what I've been thinking is that there really are those only two stories that make sense for Batman's growth. If you brought in Ra's al Ghul, you've got to bring in the League of Assassins. You got all that storyline to figure out. Just about every other character you've got to spend time with them. And where I see the problem with is, again, you're moving away from Robert Pattinson. Like Mr. Freeze. If you did a Mr. Freeze story, the story becomes about him and Nora, if you're going to make it right. If you're going to do Mr. Freeze right, you've got to bring up the whole thing with his daughter and all this other stuff. or not his daughter, his wife. And again, that pulls away from Bruce. And with the Court of Owls, you really need the rest of the Bat family because it is such a big story. Where I look at Hush, and if you look at the main story of Hush, yes, it's got all the Robins in it. It's got, references to Jason Todd and Clayface and Scarecrow and all these other characters and Superman and stuff like that. But you could pull a lot of that out and just go for the essence of the story of Hush, which is someone that was growing up with Bruce and his parents get killed and he comes back for revenge against Bruce. Now, again, Hush was a little different in the comics because he was upset that Bruce's dad actually saved his mom instead of letting them both die. And maybe that will get weaved into it because we really don't know the extent of everything that happened the night that Edward Elliot was killed. Maybe both he and his wife were shot at and he saved, maybe Thomas Wayne was on duty and saved the wife. There's nothing that says Tommy and Bruce didn't grow up together, that maybe Edward Elliot's story came from being close and knowing these things from inside the family. There's a lot they could do there. And Hush becomes this character that gets into Bruce's head. So of all the villains I see, Hush is the one that makes the most sense from what Reeves is talking about. And like I said, you could strip away a lot of the extra stuff in the Hush story. You don't need Killer Croc, but you bring Catwoman back, because she's part of the story and his affection for her. And you could play up that relationship and then have him question it at the end because, Tommy Elliot does surgery on his head and plants something. And that's all in the believable scale. And again, it all kind of fits into the world that they've currently built for the Batman. So, yeah, I kind of see that as a direction that makes a lot of sense. Now, is that the direction they're going in? I don't know. That's the point. But it's potential there. Now, there's another little tidbit here that could really throw a wrench in the works. And that is, according to the Batman producers, there is yet another spin-off series in the works, similar to the Penguin. Now, they were going to do Arkham, and they've dropped that. And originally they were going to do a Gotham PD one, and they dropped that. So this could be focused on Catwoman, on Selena Kyle. It could focus on a character that we haven't met yet. I heard there was an interviewer that asked Matt Reeves about the idea of a legal drama starring Harvey Dent. And Reeves's response was much more, he didn't knock it down. He basically said, yeah, that's the type of things that we're looking at, in a sense. So he didn't say that was it, but he also didn't say that wasn't it. It's in the realm of that. So could they be doing a Harvey Dent spinoff series? That would make a lot of sense. Focusing on the doing a legal drama, because Batman was a film noir detective story. The Penguin is pretty much straight up a gangster story. So you're basically getting The Sopranos here. So a legal drama would make a lot of sense. It's a unique genre, yet that exists within this world that Matt Reeves is setting up. So I could see them going that direction. And basically setting up the character of Harvey Dent for appearance in either number 2 or number 3, that type of thing. So that would make a lot of sense too. Also, you could do something with another villain that you haven't set up yet. So that's where the caveat comes from. If it wasn't for that, anything else, I would say Hush is the one that makes the most sense. But that's the wild card. They could create another character. They could do an entire thing on the history of Gotham and the Court of Owls. They could set up the whole backstory there and then get into it. Yeah, DC Sopranos. Yep, that's what it is. So I think they're setting that up, but again, they could go any direction. And I think part of it is going to be how well the Penguin does. If the Penguin does well numbers-wise, I mean, I'm sure they're going to do this other series, but what it is, could it be used to feed the next movie? You know, originally the stuff that's going on in the Penguin was going to be in the opening of the second Batman movie, but now they can give it a little more space and focus on it and keep the second Batman movie as Bruce's story instead of sharing it with Oswald or Oz. So that's what they would do with another series, is be able to focus from a different point of view of Gotham. You know, that's the other thing they talk about, is how the Batman movie is from Bruce's point of view. It's high above Gotham. Where Oz's movie or TV show is from the streets. It's from the lower levels looking up, trying to work his way up. So it would need to be from a different angle than either of those. Jay says, we need to get him a host and make it 2 hours. We need to get him a host to make it 2 hours. Says to anyone but Dan's show is my favorite. Well, thank you. Yeah, I do need a co-host for Popco the Writers. But so yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that we really do have that path into Hush right now. It makes the most sense. It's set up. But yeah, it just feels like it needs, I mean, it's got that wrench in the works. It's got, you know, if they do, and Harvey Dent plays into the Hush story too. Riddler plays in the Hush story. So they've got a lot of the components they need, but could skip the more fantastical stuff. You don't need the Killer Croc scene. You don't need the Poison Ivy and Superman stuff. You can eliminate a lot of that. There is even a bit with the Joker, and that, you know, you've got a Joker now. So it does make sense if you want to focus on somebody going after Batman and who knows that Bruce Wayne is Batman. So again, that's kind of where I see it going. I think Hush would be the right villain for the second movie, more so than the Court of Owls, because I think the Court of Owls will take away from it being Batman's movie, because it becomes more about the history of Gotham. So that's my thought on that. So, all right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Agatha All Along and a couple wild-ass speculations. Haven't had those in a while, so stick around and we'll be right back.
What do you call the place on Spider-Man's wrists where the webs come out? His website. I hate myself for writing that joke, but you'd make me feel so much better if you just visited our website. We have links to our merch, new release lists, all the show info, and so much more. TheEXPLive.com.
Something is speaking to you.
Buy more comics.
just at the edge of your perception. Your senses fill with visions of vortices. 360 Comics. Slowly drawing you to one thundering epiphany.
360 Comics!
360 Comics!
The universe is telling you to shop with 360 Comics. Joe's got amazing stock from high dollar to $5 books from Silver Age to modern, CGC, variant covers, and more. 360 Comics every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, part of The Experience. Ask your local comic shop to add Battle Quest comics to your pull list today.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember, stick around for What's in the Box, Sketch Up, and the Geek Chat in some form of order there. And we're going to talk now about Agatha All Along. Quick thoughts on it is I liked it way more than I expected to, which I thought I would like it, but really got into the first episode, which is a total pastiche to Mayor of Easttown and True Detective and stuff like that. The way they break her out, all of that. So there's going to be some spoilers in this conversation. I'm going to try and not get into too many, but there's definitely some stuff I want to talk about that is spoilery. So if you haven't seen it yet, but then if you watch the trailers, you get an idea of what Agatha is doing in this, who the people she brings in are, and stuff like that. So beware spoilers, but so the first episode is basically she's still trapped in a TV series, but instead of it being and maybe this just happened after Wanda dies or supposedly dies in Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, and it went from a sitcom to this, because even her neighbor recognizes that she went from that she was basically nosy for 3 years, and now she's acting like a police detective. So that's a possibility. Maybe that's the change. Wanda's apparent death. But what we've got going in this is a lot of deception going on. I don't think anybody is necessarily straightforward other than Mrs. Davis. Mrs. Davis, of course, was Mrs. Hart in the first show, but Mrs. Davis is her real name, not in the hex. But I want to get to the second episode because that's where things get really interesting. We meet Rio Vidal in the first one, Vidal, excuse me. And of course, I have to translate the name. It's basically River of Life, or the end of the River of Life, but yeah, it's basically River of Life. The thing about her character is, though, it's obvious that she's got a past with Agatha, perhaps something more personal past, as in a relationship type thing. So that's what we've got going on, and she's kind of a catalyst when she finds. It's a little unclear whether she's the one that helped Agatha get out of the spell curse, or if it was Teen. But either way, she gets out of the curse, and now she doesn't have the Darkhold to protect her from her enemies. The Salem 7 being one of them. Those are the little animals that keep showing up. They're tied to all the siblings, not siblings, the children of the people from Agatha's original coven, coming out for revenge because she killed all of them. But I want to get to the coven she puts together, and what gets really interesting is that each member of the coven that she pulls together are characters from the comics, save 2. We don't know who Teen is. We have an idea. Mrs. Davis is not a character from the comics. But we get Jennifer Kale, witch from the comics. We get Lily Calderoo, another character from the comics from Marvel Premiere from 1972. We get Alice Gulliver, or Alice Wu, they call her in this, because the character is supposed to be Alice the Wu. And she's from a Doctor Strange story from 2016. So even their stories are kind of the same. But those 3 characters we get. And Jennifer Kale's from 1970, Man-Thing series. Lily Calderoo, of course, from 72, while Alice Wu is a more recent one. So they dig into the witch's history of Marvel to get to characters they can use. So why then is Mrs. Davis just Mrs. Davis, and why is Rio Vidal? Why didn't they pull, I don't know, Topaz or Satana Hellstrom? Or, I mean, there's other, Nikki Monroe, Margali Sardos. There's a lot, Amanda Sefton. There's a lot of characters that they could have used, which is characters. And never watched Agatha. Is that a movie? It's a brand new series that just started on Disney Plus. Started last night. There's 2 episodes dropped. It's a spinoff of the WandaVision series. So Rio is played, of course, by Aubrey Plaza. She seems to be like she's going to be maybe the bad guy or the antagonist of this. I don't necessarily think so, but she has said in interviews that she's excited to bring this character to life, and she can't wait for the reveal, for fans to see the reveal, which tells me that the Rio Vidal is not the real character, that name is not the real character, and she's a green witch or an earth witch. So my thought of that is, what character could Aubrey Plaza be playing that they wouldn't want to reveal up front? And this is the wild ass speculation because we're running out of time here. So my thought is on the show is that to open the witch's road, you need a coven. And she put together a coven with 3 witches, a divination witch, a potions witch, and a protection witch. And there was supposed to be a green witch, and they wouldn't do that. The other 3 wouldn't do it without a green witch. So she went and got Mrs. Davis, who great with flowers and stuff. Except I don't think she's a witch. I don't think she's a witch at all. I think, and it kind of plays out this way. Agatha never expected to open the portal to the Witch's Road. She intended from the beginning to basically start a fight with them and get them to attack her so that she could take their magic. Because that's how it works. If you attack Agatha with your magic, she can then take your magic. And she wanted to do this to get her powers back to take on the Salem 7, which were coming for her. So I don't think that Mrs. Davis is an actual witch. I think she just grabbed her to fill in that spot to get them to try and fail. She's a human form of the Darkhold. Not really, though. I think the dead body was the human form of the Darkhold, not necessarily Wanda. Because the toe tag was the book's checkout thing, and it was the people who possessed the Darkhold. So I don't think she meant to go on the Witch's Road. Was surprised they were able to open the door. I got to speed up here, running out of time. So who do I think Rio Vidal is? The other big witch from the Marvel Universe who's known for being dressed in green and stuff like that. I think she's Morgan Le Fay. I think that Morgan Le Fay and Agatha have a romantic history, and she's not going by the name Morgan Le Fay now. She's going by Rio Vidal, but that is who it is. That would make a lot of sense in the story. Plus, there's a report out today saying that Aubrey Plaza's character will continue on in the MCU after this. Again, Morgan Le Fay is a big villain. Because there isn't another character on that level. You've got Wanda, you've got Agatha, and then a lot of B-grade sorcerers. Clea, but we've already got a Clea. But the rest are all B-grade sorcerers. So yeah, that's what I think. I think we're going to find out. Now, we all know who we think teen is. It's probably Billy. Not a big deal, but yeah, that's what's going on. I think that's Morgan Le Fay. And I think we're going to wrap it up there. So we'll talk next week about more Agatha, and we'll talk about the Penguin next week. I will see you guys. Have a great weekend. Good night.
What do you call the place on Spider-Man's wrists where the webs come out? His website. I hate myself for writing that joke, but you'd make me feel so much better if you just visited our website. We have links to our merch, new release lists, all the show info, and so much more. TheEXPLive.com.